Agoraphobia, 61,600,000 people affected. Agoraphobia is a type of anxiety disorder that causes people to avoid places and situations that might cause them to feel trapped, helpless, panicked, embarrassed. Scared people with agoraphobia often have symptoms of a panic attack, such as a rapid heartbeat and nausea, when they find themselves in a stressful situation. Like in some cases, the conditions can be so severe that people avoid doing daily activities, such as going to the bank or grocery store, and stay inside their homes most of the day. The National Institute of Mental Health, NIMH, estimates that 0.8% of American adults have agoraphobia. About 40% of cases are considered severe. People with agoraphobia often realize their fear is irrational, but they're unable to do anything about it. This can interfere with their personal relationships and performance at work or school. Treatment can help you manage your symptoms and improve your quality of life. Depending on the severity of your condition, treatment may consist of therapy, medications, and lifestyle remedies. Phobia, 123,200,000 people affected. Phobia is the fear of driving. I personally love driving. Those suffering from phobia experience crippling anxiety whenever they are behind the wheel of a car. It can occur in people who have been involved in a vehicular accident and those who have not. About 29% of people who got into serious accidents often have some sort of PTSD which develops phobia. If you are young and learning to drive, you probably have a similar fear. So more experience equals less fear. 1.6% in the number of people who can't deal with the driving. How is xenophobia treated? There are several other ways to confront your fear of driving and begin to recover from symptoms of phobia and PTSD. Medication, speaking with a mental health professional, prolonged exposure therapy, joining support groups, defensive driving courses. Astrophobia is an extreme fear of thunder and lightning. It can affect people of all ages, though it may be more common in children than adults. It's also seen in animals. People who are suffering from this can start crying or shaking, even if they are indoors. Many children who have this fear will eventually outgrow it, but others will continue to experience the phobia into adulthood. Astrophobia can also manifest in adults who didn't have it as children. Being caught in a thunderstorm or preparing for extreme weather conditions can create reasonable levels of anxiety or fear. In people with astrophobia, thunderstorms cause an extreme reaction that can be debilitating. For people with this phobia, these feelings may be overwhelming and feel insurmountable. 2.1% of people have this fear. Astrophobia is also called astrapophobia, tonitrophobia, brontophobia, caraunophobia. Astrophobia is a treatable anxiety disorder. Like many other phobias, it's not officially recognized by the American Psychiatric Association as a specific psychiatric diagnosis. Acrophobia, 308 million people affected. Acrophobia describes an intense fear of heights that can cause significant anxiety and panic. Some research trusted source suggests acrophobia may be one of the most common phobias. It's not unusual to feel some discomfort in high places. For example, you might feel dizzy or nervous when looking down from the top floor of a skyscraper. But these feelings may not cause panic or prompt you to avoid heights altogether. If you have acrophobia, even thinking about crossing a bridge or seeing a photograph of a mountain and surrounding valley may trigger fear and anxiety. This distress is generally strong enough to affect your daily life. It is estimated that 4% of the population hates heights. Arachnophobia, 369,600,000 people affected. Arachnophobia refers to the intense fear of spiders or spider phobia. While it's not uncommon for people to dislike arachnids or insects, phobias of spiders can have a far more significant impact on your life. A phobia itself is more than just fear. It's an intense and overwhelming emotion that can make you feel like you're under a serious threat. Arachnophobia can prevent you from participating in certain events or situations because your mind says you're in danger from spiders. Like other types of phobias, arachnophobia can be debilitating and interfere with your life. But it doesn't have to. Once you've identified spider phobia, it's possible to work with it so your fears don't have to interfere with your everyday life. About 4.8% of people hate spiders. Nyctophobia, 385 million people affected. Nyctophobia has to be the most common fear among children. It is the fear of the dark. Lack of light is not the reason why people are afraid. It's the brain's disfigured perception of what would or could happen in a dark environment. This fear also comes from our ancestors. Predators would usually hunt in the night, so we are more alert and tense during that time. One way to deal with the prole is to use a special device called a lamp. 5% of people are affected by this. Claustrophobia, 438,900,000 people are affected. It's a fear of being in a small or enclosed space. I'm not a claustrophobic person, but when I read a story, I may be having claustrophobia. About a cave explorer, John Edward Jones, who gets stuck. It made me rethink my values on this. Over 100 people worked to get him out of there, but sadly he lost his life after 28 hours. Since it was impossible to retrieve his body, the cave was closed and his body was sealed forever with concrete. Like many other phobias, this can be acquired during psychological trauma. Even adults can develop claustrophobia. For example, 21 miners were trapped underground for 14 days. Some died of suffocation, but those who were rescued got a severe form of claustrophobia. About 5.7% of people have this fear. Aerophobia. 500,500,000 people are affected. Aerophobia has to be one of the most irrational phobias out there. Aerophobia is a type of specific phobia that involves a fear of flying or air travel. While statistics suggest that air travel is actually safer than traveling by other means including car and train, flying remains a common source of fear. Research suggests that between 2.5% and 40% of people experience flying-related anxiety each year. Estimates on the low end likely represent instances where the condition is diagnosed by a mental health professional, while those on the higher end are likely the result of self-rated symptoms of flying anxiety. Social phobia. 9,523,600,000 people are affected. Someone with social anxiety disorder fear negative evaluation from other people. Most of us have a little bit of this fear. But someone with the phobia is in real trouble. They have social isolation, feelings of inferiority, low self-esteem, difficulty socializing with others. The good news is that this disorder is usually prevalent during the teenage years. So the older you get, the less you give a fuck. Social anxiety is different from shyness. Shyness is usually short-term and doesn't disrupt one's life. Social anxiety is persistent and debilitating. It can affect one's ability to work, attend school, develop close relationships with people outside of their family, according to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, ADAA. Approximately 15 million American adults have a social anxiety disorder. Symptoms of this disorder may start around the age of 13. Cynophobia. 616 million people are affected. Cynophobia comes from the Greek words that mean dog, cyno, and fear, phobia. A person who has cynophobia experiences a fear of dogs that's both irrational and persistent. It's more than just feeling uncomfortable with barking or being around dogs. Instead, this fear may interfere with daily life and trigger a number of symptoms, like trouble breathing or dizziness. Specific phobias, like cynophobia, affect some 7 to 9% of the population. They're common enough that they're formally recognized in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, DSM-5. Cynophobia falls under the animal specifier. Around a third of people who seek treatment for specific phobias have an irrational fear of either dogs or cats. Time for some weird phobias. Ophidiophobia, 770 million people affected, the fear of snakes. 8% of population has cynophobia. Trypophobia, 1,232,000,000 people affected, extreme or irrational aversion to or fear of clusters of small holes or bumps. 16% of people hate seeing clusters of small holes or bumps. Kinemortophobia, the fear of zombies. Thalassophobia, the fear of the ocean. Allodoxophobia, the fear of opinions. Coulrophobia, the fear of clowns. Ergophobia, the fear of work. Didaskaleanophobia, the fear of school. Chatophobia, the fear of hair. Katoptrophobia, the fear of mirrors. Phasmophobia, the fear of ghosts. Cybophobia, the fear of food. Bananaphobia, the fear of bananas. Achondroplasiophobia, the fear of little people. Athazagoraphobia, the fear of being forgotten. Anatidophobia, the fear of ducks. Somniphobia, the fear of sleep. Androphobia, the fear of men. Ailurophobia, the fear of cats. Theophobia, the fear of God. Hippopotamonstrosusquiptaliophobia, the fear of long words. Phobophobia, the fear of fear. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to us for more. And don't forget to like and share. Thank you.